Their journey began in Yasharel. But they were scattered across the face of the earth, each one with its own beats, and each one with its own rhythm. As the dry bones are being revived, the beat begins again at the heart of the tribe.
Hello. Welcome to the Heart of the Tribe show. My name is Chelle Wagner. I'm so glad you came to join me today. I've had some really interesting interviews lately, and today is going to be no different. I have another student from the Aleph Tav body class at Dr. Monzos Clinic, Wellbeing by Design. There's going to be a link in the description box so that you can find Dr. Monzos Clinic. So look in the description to find that. And with that, I want to go ahead and welcome my guest. My guest name is Nisha Bogosian. Nisha is a family nurse practitioner. She's pursuing her education in holistic healthcare. And she is also the mother of 3 children, a wife and mother as well. So with that, let me go ahead and welcome Nisha to the show.
Hello.
Hi, Nisha.
Hi there.
Welcome. I'm so glad you were able to join me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I know you've got a busy schedule going on. You're really pursuing your educational goals at the moment, aren't you?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes. So, Nisha, tell me a little bit about your background. And I know it in healthcare as a family nurse practitioner. Tell me how you got started and, what your journey was before I got to meet you at school.
Yeah. So I went to school here in Lafayette, Indiana. So went through nursing school to be a registered nurse. And I went through Franciscan, so a faith-based organization there, and got my bachelor's in nursing. And then worked on a medical surgical floor for a couple years, and then went on to pursue my master's in nursing, so my family nurse practitioner. And I transitioned out of the hospital once I finished that and moved on to working in a primary care setting at Purdue Center for Healthing, actually. So outpatient, just general primary care. Yeah.
Yeah. That quite the background and experience in the mainstream medical system. So what caught your eye about or how did you find out about Dr. Monzo, the Aleph Tav body system, and what led you in that direction?
So the pandemic for me triggered something that just started to question a lot of things, like what are we doing and why are we doing this? And this just doesn't seem quite right. And I got very curious about, well, why are we doing it this way? And that led to a very continuous rabbit hole. And long story short, my grandmother in-law, she had introduced me to someone and said, she's doing something that you may be interested in, because she knew I was investigating holistic stuff and natural treatments. And Rhonda Rupp was her name. She had gone through the program, the Aleph Tav program. So I reached out to her and got some information on it. And wasn't quite sure about it and sat on it for probably about 5 months before I registered to do the class.
Yeah. I sat on it for quite a while myself before I actually went to class, because it was way out of my box, considering I don't have any medical background at all. So that was, it was my friend Nita who kept telling me, and introduced me to Dr. Monzo. And I was a patient of his for a while before I ended up at school, but I'm so glad I did.
Yeah.
And so what was your impression about school? I know there were certain things that happened there as I was listening to Dr. Monzo teach that just kind of were real aha moments for me. Tell me about what your impressions and experience were.
So very similar. I think that walking into it, I didn't really come with any expectations, just we're going to see what this is and what do we do and kind of see how it goes. But I learned a lot of things that I had no idea about, like weaponized pathogens and that whole deal. And I feel like, it was a lot of aha stuff. I will say there was a feeling of, coming in there and just feeling so welcomed and feeling, yes, this is the right place at the right time. And I definitely needed to be there. So that was reassuring because I wasn't quite sure, right? No expectations, but like, am I supposed to be doing this was a big question. So I was kind of blown away learning about the weaponized pathogens, but it all just sits right where you know that it's true. And
Yeah, that the whole idea of that, as I've listened to Dr. Monzo talk about that, when he explains, the nano size and the almost like almost as if it was submarine, little submarines in the, in the system. It is a real stretch. I'm sure that you kind of run across this being in the medical profession and I certainly run across it just in my personal life. There's a lot of, this is a big stretch for many in my generation and in generations before. I run into a lot of cognitive dissonance, like this just can't be, but the fact that it's a real aha moment for me in realizing where the technology is at this day and age. And it is shocking, isn't it?
Yeah. It's one of those things too, like from a medical perspective, where I see things and it's like, I know something is wrong with this person, but I could work them up every single way and absolutely everything is normal. And it's like, I know it's not normal. Something is wrong. So it was a lovely experience to be able to say, yeah, it's that other piece that we can't actually test with a lab or look at with an image.
That's kind of my story, which would have been what led me to become a patient of Dr. Monzos. Is I had been through 8 years of going through the mainstream medical and even functional medicine and integrative physicians, rheumatologists, everything, and nothing was showing up. As far as the symptoms that I was having, it wasn't showing up on the normal test. And even though I was working with some really wonderful people, I mean, I met some wonderful doctors and some caring, physicians and practitioners. And it wasn't that they didn't want to help me. It was that they couldn't find the root cause.
They didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like there isn't any acknowledgement that, I mean, if you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And to not know that is there, you wouldn't know to check for it or to find ways to eliminate it.
Right. That's exactly it. It is.
Yeah.
So with all the things that you've experienced, and I know that, so you were just telling me that you're in school right now for resonance repattering, repatterning as a practitioner. What is that? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so it's a program designed by a gal. Her name is Chloe Wordsworth, and I think it's been into practice for 20 years or so, but not mainstream. Definitely, it doesn't seem like. I ran across it. I would say it was probably like the beginning of my journey down this path, like the near beginning. And it is a program that you can use so she's written multiple books, and it's a series of steps that you can go through to, so there's actually 6 different areas. So there's like an orientation that you can do. So you use muscle checking through the program to guide you through questions. And it can be orienting yourself to time, space, a situation, an event, where we just kind of get lost with everything. It can be that you have a problem and you're trying to find the opportunity in it, that you use these books to go through to kind of shift things. It could be you have an intention that you are working on and trying to make that come in. And it could be a repatterning. So that is where we have our subconscious behaviors that from birth, from in the womb that we kind of hold on to. I think of the repatterning process and resonance repatterning as strongholds that the Bible talks about. So what this does is the repatterning specifically, you go through and you're using the muscle checking tool to go through to obtain information from what we already know, our subconscious mind, and bring it to our conscious mind, because we can't change anything that we aren't conscious of. Right. So that it's a process that allows you to do that through muscle checking.
Yeah, very interesting. I loved the muscle testing session that we had with Kim on the last day of class. That's something that I plan to pursue more myself. Now, while you were there, did you go ahead and decide to take the class for the restore, get the extra materials for restore?
Yes.
Have you started going through any of that material yet?
Yes, I finished it. I've been implementing on my family.
Oh, wow. How amazing. So what kind of results have you gotten there?
Yeah, so I've done it on my son, my dad, and myself. And my son, he definitely seems to be much more, I don't know, not so more reasonable, I guess I could say. Right. My dad, I did it I used his DNA, so his hair, I took it home and did it. And I had messaged him 24 hours after and asked how he was doing. And he said, I'm fine. I don't know that anything has changed for him. Right. But my son, I've definitely noticed a difference with him, simply with his behavior.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. And an interesting thing, when I was using the laser on him, I didn't feel any warmness or heat, but when I was going down his back, he actually said, "Oh, that's really hot. What are you doing?" And I'm like, "No, it's not hot."
Well, yeah, I have had the similar experience with my husband using the laser on him. Okay. Certain vials, when I'm using them, certain of the cycle vials, he'll say, "Oh, I can really feel the heat of that, like in my ear or on top of my head." One, it's like different vials. He got sensations in different parts of his body when I was using that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really interesting. I don't necessarily understand all of that, but it is absolutely fascinating, the results. And I don't know, have you had a chance to use the Aleph Top Body, the touch portion of laying on hands?
I am. Oh, that's my dogs.
Sorry. Let them calm down. That's okay.
Yeah.
Mine might start.
I'm going to pause and let them out. Is that okay?
Okay, sure.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. Nisha will be back in a moment after she takes care of the noisy dogs. I'm glad that Quincy didn't decide to chime in on that. I was listening to Nisha talk about the pattern restructuring, and it reminds me a lot of one of the services that is offered at Wellbeing by Design also, and that is a service called Pathways. And that service has helped me greatly when I got my own quest for results. One of the things that, comes back is the generational issues. And so it did remind me a lot of what Nisha was explaining with her her repatterning experience. I was telling our audience, Nisha, about Pathways that is done at Wellbeing by Design, and how that program also reminds me of what you were just explaining about the repatterning that classes that you've been going through.
Okay.
Yeah, very, very similar.
Who was it that did the Pathways there?
Davian and Kim. Yes. Yeah. So when I got my Quest 4 back, it had a lot of, generational information. And I have worked with Davian, and she's been helping me, go back and pray through those things. And she uses the muscle testing and, determines what we need to work on in order to gain freedom from those things. It's been really helpful for me. I have felt a huge difference from that.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I'll have to look into that, because I didn't get a chance to experience that process. So I'll look into that.
Yeah. Just writing to Kim or Davian, either one, and they can give you a lot more information on that because it sounds very similar to me, and
Yeah.
it's been hugely beneficial. Yeah. So.
Good.
All right. So now I'm trying to remember exactly where we were. You were telling me about we were both talking about the restore and using. I had asked you if you had used the olive top body touch on anyone.
Yeah. So I have used it on a couple of instances. So with my dad, I used it on while he was here. He's got some medical stuff, and then I also used it on a couple patients in my practice actually that were having like a panic. One was definitely in a manic episode. Yep. And it was quite interesting, laying on the front and the back at that acute for those acute times. She was able to talk clearly and slowly and like not emotionally distraught by what was going on. It was definitely notable.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that it really is amazing. In class, were you able to feel the pulses? What did things feel like to you as you would lay hands on people?
Yeah. So at first I was feeling, I think, for the cardiac pulse because that's what I'm used to. So I actually wasn't able to feel it all at first. I thought I'll just do this 5 minutes and then shift to the next point. But after a little while, I started to feel it. And for me, it was a feeling of you feel it in all fingers, and it's a very big feeling. It's not just in your fingers, but you can almost feel it bounding in your whole field, like not just in the fingers. And then interesting, the very first time I had someone lay hands on me, my right index finger became very painful. And it's still I actually did a resonance repatterning session today on someone, and during that process, it's the first time it ever happened, but my finger started hurting again. So it's like whenever I'm having energy, I think, move through my fingers, it's still there.
Wow, that it's amazing. I would have never just even imagined that this was possible. I've had, plenty of chiropractic work done before. I've even had acupuncture before. And but this was completely different than anything else I had experienced before.
Yeah.
On that, it's a light touch. We're not applying force and it being energy. For me, when I laid hands, and it's still working this way for me, it takes about anywhere from 60 seconds to 90 seconds before I begin to feel much of anything once I'm on 2 points. And that's as soon as I feel a reaction. But then it'll usually start in one hand first, and then I'll start to feel it in the other two.
Yeah.
And it's very distinct. And most of the time, I mean, it's been different on different people. Everybody, it's a little bit different. But most of the time, it seems more like this windshield wiper or wave going back and forth from hand to hand until it starts to resonate. And I know since I've been home on my husband, what I felt was once it felt like it was really getting in sync, I could feel this flow. I could feel the ascending, descending, and I was like, wow, the whole thing's flowing. And that's been new since I've been home.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
How about emotional things for you? Because I know that during one of the laying on hands, it did feel very, very emotional. I couldn't necessarily say why, but yeah.
And was that when you were acting as a practitioner or as the patient?
It happened both times.
Both times. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to share a little bit about what you experienced in that level?
Oh, sure. So when I was a patient, a distinct memory from childhood came up as I was just laying there, not thinking about it, but it popped right into my mind. I felt very sad. And then the person that was laying hands on me, she actually had to step away for a moment and go get a tissue, but there wasn't any verbal communication between us. Yeah.
that's what this whole thing with it tying into not just a physical level, but the emotional level, the trapped emotions. And what Dr. Monzo was explaining was that all pain is like congested energy, and thinking about how emotions, like I'm reading a book now that says, the body doesn't lie, right? And it's all about trauma. And that's been an area of interest for me for a long time, is looking at how sometimes trauma manifests physically, when it's gotten trapped, shoved down, things that happened that you really don't even sometimes have that that conscious memory of, but more of a subconscious. It's a very interesting how it also relates to ills and pains and things that manifest as dis-ease, within the body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely fascinating.
Yeah. It's almost as if, there's these emotions that we have to experience life, and we can either overuse them or underuse them. And then when we do either or, and it's not this nice balance, that's when a layer has been developed, and it's like a unhealthy coping mechanism that's developed. And then I don't know where that's stored. Depends. I mean, I guess I always thought, a memory is stored, or a situation is stored inside of your brain, but it's like, no, it's stored all over the place.
Yeah. I have even gotten so far as understanding that like almost like a second brain would be the gut area, and so I was thinking, okay, well, I can understand, some of the things, because it'll talk about, something that your heart is sick, or different things, but like that, in deep internal organs like that, the gut, the heart. But understanding that maybe sometimes something's manifesting in my leg due to a trapped emotion that needs to be let go, and how it could be. I found that fascinating. And it was like, for me, I found this kind of funny, that we would go to lay on the table, and you've got two people, right? And I was thinking to myself, like the cartoon bubble in my head, right? Of, well, yes, I would like for you to lay hands because of this, major scarring that I've had on my back, and to the other person, and could you work on what happened to me when I was 5 and wanted to run away from home?
Yeah.
And my dog died, and and it seems to be in my elbow.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's wild.
That's real, though. That's the reality. Yeah.
It is. And I think that was probably one of my big aha moments at school, was realizing how we are just one. We're not separate parts. I'm not, separated into categories. And our mainstream medical, it has seemed to me that for the most part, in the mainstream part of it, not the integrative, not the functional, but for the most part, we're looking at dividing the body up, rather than seeing that this is one person, one very individual person, from the top of their head to the tip of their toes.
Yep. Where everything is connected. Yeah. And an issue that someone's having with their kidney may not actually be their kidney. It may be affecting their kidney, but it's from trapped energy from a different part, a different place in the body. And you could treat the kidney all you want, but if you don't fix the other part, it's actually the big part causing that, then you're not getting anywhere.
Yeah. Extremely, extremely interesting. And I found even, he's got the suggestions beside every page, as we're looking for, the treatment of laying on the olive top body points, and the different things we can use. We can use the laser, we can use the ATB points, the different things. And one of the things that he had was the Torah lifestyle. Was that something new for you?
Yeah, for me, it kind of rang home that, if we simply just follow the book, if we just follow his word and trust him, that we would be fine, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was just a light bulb for me. That's just the core of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how every single treatment was associated with the Hebrew name and with scriptures. And it's like, I'm looking at it as far as like people that I want to work with. I'm like, okay, if I'm really going to work with somebody on a regular basis to help them overcome some of these deep things, those scriptures are going to be definitely part of what I want to offer to others
The
to help
treatment.
them with homework. Yeah.
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 Because you can do all the work, right? You could do laying of the hands, but if someone just continuously plays out those, maybe they're not even aware, right? An unconscious thing. How far can you get? Because it's just going to kind of repeat itself if you don't go to the underlying problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, this has been a great discussion. Is there anything else on your mind before you know what? There's one more thing on my mind. Tell me, your plans for how you proceed from here. Do you have kind of I know things change and grow, but kind of what your goal is, how you see all this fitting together in your life?
Yeah, so like you said, it's an ever-changing kind of picture, but right now, so I've developed a website. We've created an LLC business, and I currently have my role that I've backed down on at my work, but I want to start implementing the hands-on healing on Fridays, and then kind of move into doing it as the sole purpose of my everyday kind of passion, and how all that goes and how it works out, I'm not quite sure. You had posted a little snippet of someone that said, in Exodus, you have to exit the old and walk into the new. You can't be hanging on two pieces. And I thought, oh my goodness, that's what I'm doing right now. So yeah, for me, it's going to be trust the story that God has and let go of that old piece. But yeah.
So cool. So is your website up and available? Do we want to
It is, yeah.
Get that out? And then I'll link it in the description, but go ahead and tell us what it is right now.
Yeah, it is. Let me pull it up. It's so new. So it is www.jocosity, JOCASITY, holistichealing.com.
Wonderful. I will make sure that I go back and add that into our description.
All right. Thank you. One last comment I think that I would make is leaving the program. It was, for me, I cried for like the first hour and a half home with just pure joy that I went. And I thought to myself, I experienced a little bit of heaven on earth.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it was a wonderful thing to go through. And I'm so blessed to have met everyone there, and thankful for Dr. Monzo and Kim and everyone at the clinic.
Yeah. What a wonderful staff. I know I got to have several treatments while I was there. Tammy did a coherent restore for me, and I was just so grateful. Chelle did the lymphatic massage, and of course I've worked with Damien, and I mean everybody at the clinic. I felt very, very blessed too.
Yeah.
Did you have any treatments while you were there?
I did do a restore there, and I did the quest when I was there.
Yeah. Really good. Yeah, absolutely amazing. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. I know that Dr. Monzo and everybody at Wellbeing by Design appreciates you taking your time for this interview. And gosh, I just wish you all the success in the world, for what you're doing.
Chelle.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nisha. And with that, we will say shalom.
Shalom.
So love.
Their journey began in Yasharel, but they were scattered across the face of the earth, each one with its own beat, and each one with its own rhythm. As the dry bones are being revived, the beat begins again at the heart of the tribe.